Death Rattle is very important in my life. It's the most important project I've ever done. So it's basically been essentially my dream to do this band.
It took time. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of patience. You know, we waited 18 months till we actually talked to each other. It felt like longer than that. It felt like an eternity. I didn't think we were ever gonna even, consider just doing it again. Now I know, of course, Ryan, the driving force, I knew he'd come around. It's just like a matter of time, I was feeling the void playing for another band at the time, and man, I missed it.
They knew that mending fences with Trey would be the next step, but they had no idea if the vocalist would be receptive to returning to the fold. The discussions were long and intense, but after a few meetings, the three were a unit once more, and differences were put aside as passions for the music and the brotherhood in Death Rattle were rekindled.
It's this global pandemic and everybody's scared out of their wits and whatever is going on. We were like, oh, well, this was a whole unique situation, and we can't let that affect what we're doing musically. We've shut down for 2 years, and now it's time to get back on the horse and do what we were supposed to be doing and remember what we loved and fuck the pandemic.
The question facing the band then was, how do we progress from here? Ryan had that answer. Armed with some song ideas that Ryan had developed while the band was on hiatus, they went to work in Artax Falls Studios, where Trey had started a music production career during the pandemic and began crafting the future of the band's sound.
The Volition cycle was crammed with a bunch of uncertainty and difficulty, and this cycle has been the polar opposite. It's been patient. We've exercised patience. We've had a very collaborative effort with everybody on board. It's been very different.
We had input from other sources, just the writing process was different. It was a whole writing process from front to back, from artist to production. Just everything throughout there was completely thoroughly thought and planned, and we picked apart every little detail.
Working closely with session bassist Rod Lopez, Death Rattle created 10 new songs over the course of the next 6 months. They were the most ambitious offerings to date from the band.
When we started the writing process, Ryan came in with a couple of songs him and Chris had already been working on during the pandemic when we were split. And I was like, holy crap, those are, they were much heavier, and they had a lot more melody than the stuff we had written on Volition. I was like, that's the ticket.
They then decided to team up with engineer Kevin Billingsley in the summer of 2022 at Halo Studios in Maine. Billingsley would push the band over the next few months, and they would leave Maine with something that they believed was a foundational stepping stone for Death Rattle.
Working with Kevin Billingsley was amazing. He's a phenomenal guy. He made a huge impact on this record, and he's one of those guys where he's super fun to work with, really knows what he's doing, and that obviously the proof is in the pudding with his experience and all that. Just amazing guy, brought so much out of the record, brought us places on the record I never thought we would go, which is really fun, and I couldn't say enough good things about Kevin.
That spring, the band enlisted the help of the legend Jens Bogren of Fascination Street Studios in Sweden to mix the album.
Oh, that's an honor to work with Jens Bogren. I've always looked at him as one of the best producer engineers in the world, and his work is obviously incredible. He's done some of the best metal bands ever, especially a ton of Swedish metal bands, of course, being in Sweden. So we're very, very happy about that. It sounds amazing.
This process culminated in The Moral Chokehold, which is scheduled to release in 2024. Each member of the band felt heard through this musical vision and felt represented in the craftsmanship and care taken to produce each second of audio on the record.
I'm recording with Kevin Billingsley. I'm getting the album mixed by Jens Bogren, who did the Soilwork albums. And his discography it speaks for itself. Like there's, and this whole thing is just like, it's dream scenario. It's like, okay, so where do you go from here? Well, there's nowhere to let up.
It is a future that they all wished for all those years ago when this journey began.
Don't fucking judge me, man. Listen, don't judge me.
And it is appropriate that its release will mark the triumphant return of Death Rattle to the metal music arena. It is said that sometimes, if you love something, you must set it free. And if it returns, then it was truly meant to be. That is certainly the case for Death Rattle. The three friends let go of their love for performing their music on stage, only to find that their passion for their creative process and the band itself was made stronger when it returned. Ryan, Chris, and Trey eagerly await the release of the moral chokehold on the world as they prepare to embrace their love of the stage once again with new eyes. Death Rattle has returned.